Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to be sharing with you how to cut a monostrap corset. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. So to start, I'm going to go ahead to mark out my basic measurement, which includes my shoulder to bust line, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline. For the blouse length, I measured 5 inches for my waistline to get my top length. You can also use your desired top length if you like. So after this, you go ahead to mark your shoulder divided by 2. My shoulder is 14 divided by 2, I have 7. Come down by 1 inch and I'll go ahead to connect, drawing out a shoulder slope. So the next step is to mark my neckline of 3 inches, and after that I'll be marking 2 inches or 2.5 because this is a turtle neckline, and I'll connect. After I'm done marking that, the next step is to find your chest line, and to find your chest line is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So I'll just mark what I have there to maintain a straight line on this pattern, which is that 7 inches line, and I'll rule it out, drawing out my chest line. After I'm done marking that, I'll mark my shoulder divided by 2 again, place my ruler, and I'll go ahead to connect. After I'm done connecting, I'm going to go ahead to fold up my tape and I'll mark the midpoint. Come in by ½ inch, and after that point, I'll go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll connect from that point all the way to the armhole and to the upper part of my pattern. After I'm done marking that, I'll go ahead to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, which is 7 inches divided by 2 is 3.5, and I'll mark this all the way to the lower part of my pattern. And after that, I'll just go ahead to draw out a straight line. After I'm done drawing out a straight line, I'll be marking my dart intake, and for my dart intake, I'll be marking 1 inch on both sides of my pattern, that is on the left and also on the right. For a plus size, you're going to use 1.5 inches on both sides, that is 1.5 inches at the right, 1.5 inches on the left. After that, I'll place my curve drill, connect from my bust down to my under bust, connect to the other side of my pattern this way. After I'm done doing that, I'll go up by 1.5 inches. This totally depends on where you want the cup to start. For a plus size, I'll recommend you use 2 inches or 2.5, especially if you're busty. Here, I'll mark my nipple to nipple back again and I'll connect the line. After that, I'll go ahead to still mark the same dart intake of 1 inch, and I'll go ahead to connect this all the way to the lower part. After that, I'll also work on the other side and I'll connect. After I'm done connecting this, I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline my pattern to make it more visible for you to see. Next is to insert my body measurement. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll go ahead and measure the dart intake I have on the chest line area and replace and add my sewing allowance because I don't want to have too much excess at the dart by the side. Mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake and add my sewing allowance. At this point, I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the 2 inches dart intake, replace and add my sewing allowance. After I'm done doing that, I'll go ahead to mark my hip circumference divided by 4 on the top length, which is 40 divided by 4, I have 10 inches. Measure these 2 inches dart intake and add your sewing allowance. So you can use any sewing allowance of your choice on this blouse. You can go ahead to use ½ inch or more. So I'll just go ahead to reconnect my pattern, and after I'm done connecting, this is what I have. And I'll go ahead to connect from the upper part all the way to the lower part of my pattern this way. Next, to draw out my cup, I'm going to go down by ½ inch from my chest line, and then I'll be coming in by ½ inch from my chest line. After marking that, I'm going to connect from the upper part to the lower part of the chest line. At that point, I marked the ½ inch. After that, I'll also connect the other side of my pattern. Then I'll go ahead to connect my pattern starting from the under bust all the way to the bust, or from the bust down to the under bust. On this side, you can go ahead to divide what you have at your armhole or your nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half. My nipple to nipple is 7 divided by 2. I have 3.5 plus half, making it 4 inches. So after I'm done marking that, I'll just go ahead and use my marker to outline my pattern. And after that, I'll go ahead to label my cup as A and B. And after I'm done doing that, I'll mark my bust dart. To get your bust dart is the difference between your shoulder to waist at the front and your shoulder to waist at the back. Mine is 1.5 inches because my shoulder to waist at the front is 17 inches and my shoulder to waist at the back is 15.5 inches. So I'll mark that 1.5 inches this way, and I'll go ahead to outline it and use my marker to also shade it out. So this is what I have after I'm done shading this part out, and I'm going to go ahead to mark all these measurements I have on this part on the other side. So I'll be doing it off the camera to save time. So here is what I have after I'm done marking this on this pattern, and now we're going to go ahead to alter this pattern. So from my neckline, I'm going to mark 3 inches, and from there I'll draw out a curve. I'll be using a freehand method to do this. Getting to the middle, I'll go in a bit, and from here I'm going to connect it all the way and create like a slight curve before connecting. Now I'll just draw out the neckline, and also remember that this is a turtle neckline. You'll also be cutting out a piece about 1.5 inches to 2 inches to attach on the upper part of the neckline of the dress while you're sewing this dress. So next we'll work on the lower part. I'll come up by 1.5 inches, and at the other side I will do so. But before then, I'll go ahead to extend this all the way down, maintaining the hemline, and at this point I'll come down by 1.5 inches and I will connect. So after I'm done connecting at this point, I'll go up by 4 inches and I will draw out a straight line. If you notice, this is close to the cup, so I'm going to go ahead to readjust it a bit so that it's going to suit the curve that we are going to have at that point. From here, I'll go in by 1 inch and then I'll create like a curve connecting to the end of this side. Now I'll blend in my pattern paper for here to match, and then I'll take this and go ahead to mark 1.5 inches at the upper part. After that, I'll just go ahead to use my marker to outline this to make it more visible for you to see. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and if you also have a comment, please also leave at the comment section, or if you have a question, go ahead to leave at the comment section. So I'll just go ahead to cut out my pattern. So after cutting out this part, this is what I have. So I'll just go ahead and cut out the rest of the pattern. So while also cutting, you want to make sure that you blend in your dart, and you're going to reconnect your cup, or if you want, you can just go ahead and cut it directly just like I did. So after I'm done cutting out, this is what I have, and we'll be moving over to the back pattern. For the back pattern, I've gone ahead to mark out all the basic measurements, which includes my shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline and top length. So remember, the waistline at the back is 15.5. From that 15.5, I added that same extra 5 inches to get my top length, just like we did for the front part of this pattern. And after that, we'll go ahead to mark out our basic measurements, or that intake. So I'll go ahead to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, which is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5. I'm going to go ahead to mark this all the way to the lower part of the pattern, and I'm going to connect, drawing out a straight line. After that, I'll be marking ½ inch on both sides, and then I'll come down by 1 inch from the bust line, and I'll connect this all the way up and also connect on the other side. Here I'll go down by 4 inches and I will mark. After this, I'll just go ahead and connect all the way to the lower part of the pattern. So after I'm done connecting, I'm going to go ahead to mark my basic measurement, which is my bust circumference divided by 4, and add my sewing allowance. So there's no dart on this part. Going down to the waistline, I'll mark the waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace, and add my sewing allowance. Now, moving over to the top length, I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4 and also add my sewing allowance. I'll go ahead to connect this all the way to the lower part of my pattern, and I'll use my marker to outline the rest of my pattern. So after this, all this measurement that I have here, I'll also replace it at the other side. But before then, I'll mark a neckline of 3 inches by 1 at the back of the dress. So if you notice, we don't have a zipper at this point, so we are going to be creating a lacing bar. I'll use 2.5 there and use 1 inch at the lower part. Then go ahead and connect this all the way to the lower part, because the lacing bar area we have there is a bit slanted, and I'll make a dot to indicate that we have a lacing bar area at that point. Come down by ½ inch to avoid the lacing bar area popping up when you're wearing the dress, and I'll reconnect it to the dress. So now on the upper part of the dress, which is the yoke, I'll come up by ½ inches so that I will not have any gaping or excess at the yoke part of this dress, and I will outline. So all these measurements that I have here right now, I will also go ahead to replace it on the other side of my pattern. So after I'm done marking it, I went ahead to open up my pattern, and this is what I have. So now here's my front pattern, and we'll be taking this part as the front part of the fabric, and here at the back, this would be the front part of the back fabric. So if you place your pattern this way, you want the wrong side of the front and the wrong side of the back to be meeting. Now we are going to use the neckline of this side, and we are going to place, then go ahead to trace out. And at this point, you want to create like a straight line so that the loop will be matching each other. So from here now, I'll go in by ½ inch after my nipple to nipple point, and I'll go ahead to connect. After that, I will also go ahead to reconnect my pattern, and also know that this is a turtleneck line, and you'll be adding 1.5 inches at the upper part of the dress. And I went ahead to mark the midpoint to indicate that we'll be having a loop at that back, at the back neckline, and I'll go ahead to draw out the rest of the pattern this way. After I'm done drawing it out with my marker, I'll also outline the darts out. But before that, I'll go ahead to mark the lower part. I'll go up by 1.5 inches, and I will also do that at this other side because we used it for the front part of this dress. I'll go ahead to shed off this part so that I don't include it when I'm cutting out. Now I'll reconnect it to the lower part, and also reconnect this to the lower part of this pattern this way. So this is what I have after I'm done marking this out. And after I'm done reconnecting this, I'll just go ahead to cut out my pattern. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. If you have any question, please leave it at the comment section. And I also have a second YouTube channel, which is Marky's Closet. There I do both sewing and drafting tutorial. So with this, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. Please don't forget to join us in our next video. Thanks.